Beloved, let us reflect on the truth that transcends time, space, and circumstance. God is neither blind to your struggles nor deaf to your prayers. Every tear you've cried, every burden you've carried, and every prayer whispered in the quiet moments of despair has not gone unnoticed. Heaven has seen it, and the one who formed you in your mother's womb is attentive to your cries. You see, life is a journey filled with mountains and valleys. It is not always smooth, nor is it always easy. Sometimes the struggles you face seem overwhelming, as if the weight of the world rests on your shoulders. You may even feel isolated, wondering if God has turned his face away. But let me remind you of this eternal truth: God is always watching. The very one who keeps the stars in place and commands the waves to stop at the shore is the same God who watches over you with unwavering love. The struggle is not a sign of God's absence. It's often the evidence of his refining process. You see, diamonds are formed under pressure and pressure, and gold is purified in the fire. In the same way, the trials you face are shaping you for the purpose he has already written for your life. The struggles are not meant to destroy you, but to build you, to stretch your faith, and to position you for the blessings that lie ahead. As for your prayers, every word you've uttered in faith has reached the throne of grace. The scriptures declare that the prayers of the righteous avail much. But let me emphasize this: it's not about the eloquence of your words or the length of your prayer. God is moved by your heart. Even when your prayers are reduced to groans and tears, he understands. The Spirit intercedes on your behalf with words that cannot be expressed. You are never praying alone. Heaven joins you in your petition. Sometimes the silence of God may seem unbearable. You've prayed, you've fasted, and yet no answer appears. But his silence does not mean he is absent or indifferent. Often God's greatest works are done in the waiting. While you are wondering if he hears you, he is orchestrating a divine plan far beyond your comprehension. He is aligning the right people, preparing the right opportunities, and setting the stage for a breakthrough that will testify of his glory. God sees your struggles, but he also sees your perseverance. He hears your prayers, but he also hears your faith. When you choose to keep pressing forward, when you trust him, even when the outcome is unclear, you declare to the heavens and the earth that your faith is unshakable. It is in those moments of unwavering trust that God moves mightily. Keep praying, keep believing, and keep trusting. Heaven is not silent concerning you. God is not distant from your pain. He is closer than the air you breathe, ready to carry you through every trial and to answer your prayers in his perfect timing. What he has promised, he will fulfill. What he has started, he will complete. And when the breakthrough comes, you will look back and see that he was with you every step of the way. God is not bound by the limits of human perception. While you see the immediate, he sees the eternal. While you focus on the pain of the present, he has already orchestrated a purpose for your future. This is why it is essential to trust him even when you do not understand his ways. The scripture reminds us that his thoughts are higher than our thoughts, and his ways are higher than our ways. What you may perceive as unanswered prayers or delayed blessings could very well be God protecting you, preparing you, or positioning you for something far greater than you can imagine. In the midst of struggles, it is easy to allow doubt to creep in. You may wonder why a loving God would allow you to go through seasons of difficulty. But understand this: God's love is not absent in your pain. It is revealed through it. His love sustains you, strengthens you, and gives you the grace to endure what seems unbearable. The very struggles you are walking through today are not signs of abandonment, but of preparation. Every trial carries a lesson. Every hardship refines your character, and every difficulty deepens your dependence on him. Think about the stories of those who have gone before you, the great men and women of faith who also endured trials. Joseph, for example, endured betrayal, false accusations, and years of imprisonment. Yet through it all, God was working. What seemed like a season of struggle and silence was, in fact, a setup for elevation. When the time was right, Joseph was lifted from the prison to the palace, fulfilling the dreams God had given him years before. If God could do it for Joseph, He can do it for you. The same God who turned Joseph's suffering into significance is at work in your life. When you feel like giving up, remember that you are not alone. God has promised never to leave you nor forsake you. He walks with you through the fire and stands with you in the storm. The winds may howl and the waves may rise, but they cannot overcome the one who holds you in His hands. Your struggles may be fierce, but they are no match for the power of God. And let me remind you that His strength is made perfect in your weakness. When you reach the end of your own ability, that is when His power is most evident. Prayer is your lifeline, your connection to the Creator of the universe. It is not a ritual or a formality. It is a divine conversation with the one who knows you better than you know yourself. When you pray, you are not speaking into the void. You are communing with the God who hears, who cares, and who acts. He collects your tears in a bottle. He records your cries in His book, and He responds in His perfect timing. You may not see the answers immediately, but every prayer you pray is a seed planted in faith, and in due season, it will bear fruit. There are moments when the answers to your prayers may come in unexpected ways. You may pray for strength, and God allows challenges to make you stronger. You may ask for patience, and He gives you opportunities to wait. You may seek peace, and He leads you into storms to show you that He is the Prince of Peace. Trust that His answers are always for your good, even when they do not align with your expectations. God sees the bigger picture, and His plans are always perfect. In your struggles, do not lose sight of the fact that God is writing the story with your life. Every chapter has a purpose, every page has meaning, and every word is intentional. Your trials are not random, they are woven into a greater narrative that declares His glory. Just as a tapestry looks chaotic and messy from the back, so your life may seem disordered and confusing in the moment. But when the master weaver is finished, you will see the beauty of His design. Sometimes the struggles you face are not just about you, they are about the impact your life will have on others. Your perseverance in trials can inspire someone else to keep going. Your testimony of God's faithfulness can bring hope to the hopeless. Your victory over adversity can be a beacon of light to those still in the darkness. God uses your pain to bring healing to others, your struggles to bring strength, and your prayers to release His power into the world. Even when you feel overlooked or forgotten, know that God's eyes are on you. He sees you when no one else does. He sees the sacrifices you've made, the battles you fought in silence, and the faith you've held on to when it seemed like all was lost. God honors those who trust Him in the unseen moments, who worship Him in the waiting, and who remain steadfast in their faith despite the storms of life. Do not be discouraged by the opinions or judgments of others. People may misunderstand your journey, but God knows your heart. They may criticize your struggles, but God sees your faith. They may question your prayers, but God hears every word. Ultimately, it is His approval that matters, not theirs. You are living for an audience of one, and He is pleased with your trust, your perseverance, and your obedience. In the seasons when it feels like your prayers are hitting a wall, remember the story of Daniel. He prayed, and for 21 days it seemed as though nothing was happening. But behind the scenes, a spiritual battle was taking place, and the answer was on its way. Your prayers may not bring immediate results, but that does not mean they are ineffective. God's timing is always perfect, and His answers are always worth the wait. God's power is not limited by your circumstances. He can make a way where there seems to be no way. He can part the seas, move the mountains, and open doors that no one can shut. What is impossible for man is possible with God. Do not let the size of your struggles make you forget the greatness of your God. He is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the creator of all things. And if he is for you, who can be against you? In the moments when you feel weakest, God's grace will sustain you. His grace is not just unmerited favor, it is divine empowerment. It gives you the strength to keep going when you want to give up, the courage to stand firm when you want to retreat, and the peace to trust him when the future is uncertain. His grace is sufficient for you, and his power is made perfect in your weakness. Hold on to the promises of God, for they are unchanging and eternal. His word declares that he is your refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. It promises that those who wait upon the Lord will renew their strength, that they will mount up with wings like eagles, that they will run and not grow weary, that they will walk and not faint. These promises are not just words, they are the truth that sustains you in the darkest moments. God's faithfulness is the anchor of your soul. He has been faithful in the past, he is faithful in the present, and he will be faithful in the future. When you look back on your life, you will see his hand guiding you, protecting you, and providing for you. What he has done before, he can do again. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Trust in his faithfulness, and you will not be disappointed. Let your struggles draw you closer to God, not push you away. Let your prayers deepen your relationship with him, not diminish your trust. Let your faith be strengthened by every trial, not shaken by every challenge. God is for you, he is with you, and he is working on your behalf. What the enemy meant for evil, God will turn for good. What seems like a setback is often a setup for something greater. And what feels like an ending is just the beginning of a new chapter. Beloved, as we journey deeper into this reflection, let us rest in the assurance that God's sovereignty is unshaken by the circumstances of life. He is not caught off guard by your struggles. Before you even encountered the trial, he had already prepared a way of escape, a path to victory, and a purpose within the pain. His plans for you are good, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you hope and a future. This promise is not conditional on your circumstances, but anchored in his unchanging nature. God is faithful, and his word never returns void. It is vital to understand that God's perspective is not limited by time as ours is. He exists outside of time and sees the end from the beginning. What you see as a delay, he sees as preparation. What you view as an obstacle, he sees as an opportunity to demonstrate his power and love. The struggles you face are not detours, but necessary parts of the journey that lead you to your destiny. Like a seed buried in the ground, your life may feel dark and hidden at times, but growth is taking place beneath the surface. In due season, you will break through bearing fruit that glorifies the one who planted you. Do not despise the season of waiting, for it is in the waiting that your faith is strengthened. Waiting is not a passive act, but an active demonstration of trust in God's timing. It requires patience, perseverance, and a steadfast belief that he who began a good work in you will bring it to completion. Remember that even in the waiting, God is working. He is aligning situations, molding your character, and preparing the blessings that he has promised. While you wait, worship him. While you wait, thank him. While you wait, remain steadfast in prayer, knowing that the one who holds the universe holds your future in his hands. Your prayers are powerful not because of the words you speak, but because of the one to whom you pray. When you pray, you are engaging with the creator of all things, the one who spoke the heavens and the earth into existence. He has the power to change your situation in an instant. But even when he doesn't, he is changing you, Prayer is not just about presenting your needs, it is about aligning your heart with His will. It is in the place of prayer that you find peace that surpasses all understanding, strength for the journey, and clarity for the decisions you face. Sometimes the answer to your prayer is not a change in your circumstances, but a change in you. God may not remove the mountain, but He will give you the strength to climb it. He may not calm the storm, but He will give you peace in the midst of it. He may not take away the thorn, but He will give you grace that is sufficient for every moment. Trust that whatever His response, it is always for your good and His glory. The struggles of life have a way of revealing what is truly in our hearts. They expose our fears, our doubts, and our weaknesses, but they also reveal the depth of our faith and the strength of our relationship with God. It is in the furnace of affliction that we are refined and purified, made more like Christ. The struggles you face are not wasted. They are tools in the hands of a loving God who is shaping you into His image. He is removing the impurities, strengthening your resolve, and preparing you for greater things. Do not allow the enemy to use your struggles to plant seeds of doubt in your heart. He will try to convince you that God has forgotten you, that your prayers are ineffective, and that your faith is futile. But the truth is that God is always with you. He is closer than the air you breathe, nearer than your closest friend, and more faithful than anyone else in your life. Resist the lies of the enemy and stand firm on the truth of God's word. Declare His promises over your life, for His word is a weapon against the schemes of the enemy. Your struggles are not just about you, they are part of a greater story that God is writing. He is using your life to reveal His glory, to demonstrate His love, and to show the world that He is faithful. Your testimony will encourage others, your perseverance will inspire them, and your victory will give them hope. When you come through the fire, you will not only be stronger, but also more equipped to help others who are walking through their own struggles. God does not waste anything, and He will use your pain for a purpose far greater than you can imagine. Sometimes the answers to our prayers come in ways we do not expect. We ask for provision, and He teaches us contentment. We ask for healing, and He teaches us to trust His sufficiency. We ask for deliverance, and He walks with us through the valley. Trust that His ways are higher than your ways, and that His answers, though they may differ from your expectations, are always perfect. He knows what you need even before you ask, and He gives good gifts to His children. When the struggle feels overwhelming and the prayers seem unanswered, remember that God is never far from you. He is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. He hears your cries, He hears your tears, and feels your pain. He is not a distant observer, but an ever-present help in times of trouble. Even when you cannot feel Him, He is there working behind the scenes, orchestrating a plan that will bring Him glory and you joy. The trials you face today are not the end of your story. They are chapters in a book that God is still writing. And the final chapter has already been written. It is one of victory, redemption, and eternal joy in His presence. Do not let the temporary struggles of this life cause you to lose sight of the eternal glory that awaits you. Fix your eyes on Jesus, the author and finisher of your faith, and trust that He is leading you to a place of abundance, peace, and fulfillment. As you continue on this journey, remember that God's love for you is unchanging. It is not dependent on your circumstances, your performance, or your feelings. His love is steadfast, unshakable, and eternal. He loved you before you were born. He loves you in the midst of your struggles, and He will love you forever. Rest in that love, draw strength from it, and let it be the foundation upon which you stand. God sees your struggles, hears your prayers, and is with you in every moment. Trust in His promises, lean on His grace, and hold on to His love. He is faithful to fulfill every word He has spoken over your life. The best is yet to come, And what God has prepared for you is greater than anything you can ask, think, or imagine. Keep pressing forward, keep trusting Him, and know that He is with you every step of the way. Beloved, the journey of life is one of faith and trust, especially in the moments when the road ahead is uncertain and the weight of your struggles feels unbearable. God is not unaware of the battles you face or the burdens you carry. He is intimately involved in every detail of your life, and He cares deeply for you. The very hairs on your head are numbered, and not a single moment of your pain escapes His notice. This is the assurance we have as children of God, that He sees us, He hears us, and He is always working for our good. There will be seasons in your life when the silence of heaven seems deafening. You cry out in desperation, seeking an answer, but it feels as though your prayers are met with nothing but stillness. It is in these moments that faith must rise. Faith is not dependent on what you see or feel. It is rooted in the unchanging character of God. He is faithful even when the answers seem delayed. His silence does not signify absence, but often indicates that He is working behind the scenes, orchestrating something far greater than you could imagine. God's timing is perfect, even when it does not align with your own. You may have prayed for a breakthrough, only to find yourself waiting longer than you anticipated. But consider this: what if the waiting is not a denial, but a preparation? What if God is using the time to refine you, to prepare your heart, and to align circumstances for His greater purpose? Waiting on God is never wasted time. It is in the waiting that you learn to trust Him more deeply, to rely on His strength rather than your own, and to develop the perseverance that will sustain you in the days to come. Your struggles are not random, they are purposeful. Every trial you face has the potential to draw you closer to God, to deepen your faith, and to shape you into the person He created you to be. Just as the potter shapes clay on the wheel, God is molding you through the pressures of life. The process may be uncomfortable, but the result is a vessel that reflects His glory. Trust the hands of the potter, for He knows exactly what He is doing. Prayer is the bridge between your struggles and God's solutions. It is the means by which you connect with the Almighty, laying your burdens at His feet and seeking His guidance. But prayer is not just about asking for things, it is about communion with God. It is in the place of prayer that you find peace in the midst of chaos, strength in the midst of weakness, and hope in the midst of despair. When you pray, you are not speaking to the air, you are speaking to the one who has the power to change everything. Even when the answers to your prayers seem delayed, trust that God is listening. He hears every word, sees every tear, and knows every need. Sometimes His answers come in ways you did not expect. You may pray for deliverance, and instead He gives you the grace to endure. You may ask for provision, and He teaches you contentment. You may seek direction, and He calls you to trust Him step by step. His answers are always for your good, even when they do not align with your expectations. God's faithfulness is the anchor for your soul in the midst of life's storms. He has been faithful in the past, and He will be faithful in the future. When you look back over your life, you will see His hand guiding you, protecting you, and providing for you. What He has done before, He can do again. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Let this truth give you the confidence to face whatever comes your way, knowing that you are not alone. The struggles you face today are temporary. They may feel overwhelming in the moment, but they will not last forever. God has promised that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. The pain you feel is real, but so is the hope that God offers. He is the God of restoration, the God of redemption, and the God who makes all things new. Hold on to His promises, for they are unchanging and eternal. Your journey is not just about you, it is about the legacy you will leave and the impact your life will have on others. God is using your struggles to strengthen your testimony, to inspire those around you, and to bring glory to His name. When you walk through the fire and come out on the other side, you will have a story to tell, one that points to the faithfulness of God and the power of His grace. Do not underestimate the influence of your faith in the midst of adversity. Your perseverance can encourage others to keep going, and your victory can give them hope. Sometimes the greatest miracles occur not in the absence of struggles, but in the midst of them. God does not always remove the storm, but He gives you peace in the middle of it. He does not always eliminate the mountain, but He gives you the strength to climb it. He does not always prevent the battle, but He gives you the victory. Trust that whatever you face, God is with you and He is fighting for you. Your struggles are not wasted. They are part of the process that God is using to fulfill His purpose in your life. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. Every test is an opportunity for a testimony. Every pain is preparing you for a greater purpose. Trust that God is working all things together for your good, even when you cannot see it. His ways are higher than your ways, and His thoughts are higher than your thoughts. He knows what He is doing, and He will not fail you. God's love for you is unchanging. It is not dependent on your performance or your circumstances. He loves you on your best days and your worst days, in your victories and your failures, in your joy and your sorrow. His love is steadfast, unshakable, and eternal. Let this love be the foundation upon which you stand. It is the love that sent Jesus to the cross, the love that conquered death, and the love that promises eternal life to all who believe. As you continue on this journey, let your struggles draw you closer to God, not push you away. Let your prayers be a source of strength, not a source of frustration. Let your faith be unshakable, even in the face of adversity. God is with you, He is for you, and He is working on your behalf. Trust in His promises, lean on His grace, and rest in His love. The best is yet to come. And what God has prepared for you is greater than anything you could ask, think, or imagine. Even as you walk through seasons of uncertainty, let your heart remain steadfast, knowing that God is not finished with your story. Every trial, every tear, every prayer whispered in the dark is known to Him. He sees the moments when you question, when you wrestle with the weight of your circumstances, and even when your faith feels like it is faltering, yet He remains constant, unchanging, and full of compassion. His strength is available to you in your weakness, and His presence is your refuge in the storm. He has promised to sustain you, and His promises are sure. When the weight of life presses heavily on your shoulders, it is tempting to believe the lie that you are forgotten. But hear this truth: God has not forgotten you. Just as He remembered Noah in the flood, Abraham in his waiting, and Hannah in her barrenness, so too will He remember you in your hour of need. He does not slumber, and He does not overlook the cries of His children. Every prayer you utter, every sigh that escapes your lips, is heard and cherished by the One who formed you. In His perfect time, He will reveal His faithfulness in ways that exceed your expectations. There are moments when your struggles may seem to stretch on endlessly, and you may wonder if God's plan for your life is still on course. Do not let discouragement take root in your heart, for God's timing is never late. Like the farmer who patiently waits for the harvest, trust that your prayers are cultivating something beautiful beneath the surface. Every seed of faith you plant through prayer, trust, and obedience will bear fruit in due season. Do not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time you will reap a harvest if you do not give up. Consider the example of the Israelites as they stood before the Red Sea, trapped between the water and Pharaoh's army. In that moment of despair, God revealed His power and made a way where there was no way. He parted the sea, and they walked through on dry ground. This same God who delivered the Israelites is your God. He is still in the business of making ways where none seem possible. Trust Him to part the seas in your life, to remove the obstacles that seem insurmountable, and to lead you to safety and victory. There are times when God does not remove the challenges, but instead strengthens you to endure them. This is not a sign of His indifference, but of His deep love for you. Through the trials, He is teaching you to rely on Him, to trust His sufficiency, and to grow in character and faith. The Apostle Paul spoke of a thorn in his flesh, a struggle that God chose not to remove. Instead, God said to him, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness, so it is with you." God's grace will sustain you, empower you, and carry you through every difficulty. Prayer is not just an act of communication, it is a declaration of trust. When you pray, you are acknowledging that you cannot do it alone and that you need God's intervention. Prayer is an act of surrender, laying down your worries and burdens at the feet of the one who cares for you. It is a reminder that you are not in control, but you serve a God who is. In the stillness of prayer, you will find peace that surpasses understanding and strength that surpasses human ability. Do not be discouraged when answers to prayer seem delayed. God's timing is always perfect, and His ways are always higher than ours. Sometimes He withholds what we think we need to give us something far better. He sees the end from the beginning and knows what is best for you. Trust that His delays are not denials but divine appointments. What you perceive as a setback may very well be a setup for a greater blessing. Hold on to hope, for God is faithful, and He will not leave you disappointed. In the midst of your struggles, keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. He is the author and finisher of your faith, the one who endured the cross for the joy set before Him. He knows what it is to suffer, to be rejected, and to bear the weight of pain. Yet He also knows the glory that comes on the other side of the struggle. As you walk through your own trials, let His example inspire you to press on, to endure, and to trust that the suffering of this present time is not worth comparing to the glory that will be revealed. The enemy will try to use your struggles to plant seeds of doubt, fear, and discouragement in your heart. Resist him by standing firm in the truth of God's word. Declare His promises over your life, and let His truth drown out the lies of the enemy. Remember that you are more than a conqueror through Christ who loves you. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and no trial is too great for the God who is within you. The enemy may attack, but he cannot overcome the one who fights for you. Your struggles are not the end of your story. They are chapters in a greater narrative that God is writing. He is the master author, weaving together every detail of your life into a story of redemption, restoration, and victory. What the enemy meant for evil, God will use for good. What feels like a loss will be transformed into gain. What seems like an ending is often a new beginning in God's hands. Trust that He is at work even when you cannot see it, and that His plans for you are far greater than you could ever imagine. There will come a day when you will look back on this season of struggle and see God's faithfulness woven through it all. You will see how He provided when you were in need, how He gave you strength when you were weak, and how He carried you when you could not go on. You will see how He turned your pain into purpose, your trials into triumphs, and your prayers into testimonies. Until that day, hold on to hope and keep your faith anchored in His promises. God's love for you is the foundation upon which you can stand, even in the midst of life's greatest challenges. His love is unconditional, unchanging, and unending. It is not based on your performance or your circumstances, but on His nature and His covenant with you. Rest in that love. Let it fill your heart with peace, and let it be the source of your strength. Nothing can separate you from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus your Lord. As you continue on this journey, remember that God is with you. He goes before you, preparing the way. He walks beside you, offering his comfort and guidance. He follows behind you, protecting you from harm. You are never alone, for he is Emmanuel, God with us. Trust him, rely on him, and find your hope in him. He is your rock, your refuge, and your redeemer. What he has begun in your life, he will bring to completion. Hold fast to your faith, for the best is yet to come. The journey of life is filled with moments of joy and triumph, but also seasons of struggle and uncertainty. In those challenging times, it is easy to feel as though the weight of the world rests on your shoulders alone. Yet God assures you that you are never truly alone. His presence surrounds you, his strength sustains you, and his love carries you. The very struggles you face are opportunities for his glory to be revealed in and through your life. Every tear you shed, every prayer you whisper, and every moment of doubt is met by a God who sees, hears, and understands. Consider the example of Joseph, who faced betrayal, false accusations, and years of imprisonment. To the natural eye, his life seemed to be a series of misfortunes. Yet, through every setback, God was positioning him for a greater purpose. What appeared to be moments of loss were actually steps toward the fulfillment of God's plan. In the end, Joseph was able to say to his brothers, what you intended for harm, God intended for good, so it is with you. God can take even the most painful moments of your life and weave them into a tapestry of purpose and redemption. Prayer is the lifeline that connects you to the heart of God. It is in the place of prayer that your soul finds rest, your mind finds clarity, and your spirit is renewed. When you pray, you are not merely speaking words into the void, you are communing with the Creator of the universe. He listens to every word, understands every thought, and treasures every cry of your heart. In the quietness of prayer, you discover the peace that surpasses all understanding, the strength to persevere, and the wisdom to navigate life's complexities. There will be times when the answers to your prayers do not come in the way you expect. You may ask for deliverance and find yourself walking through the fire. You may plead for resolution and find yourself waiting longer than you had hoped. Yet God's delays are not denials. They are often his way of preparing you for something greater than you could imagine. Trust that his timing is perfect and his plans are always for your good. Even in the waiting, he is working on your behalf, aligning circumstances and shaping your character for the blessings to come. Do not be discouraged by the size of your struggles. The God you serve is greater than any mountain you face. He is the same God who parted the Red Sea, shut the mouths of lions, and brought down the walls of Jericho. He has not changed, and his power is still at work in your life today. When you feel overwhelmed, remember that the same Spirit who raised Jesus from the dead lives in you. He is your helper, your comforter, and your guide, empowering you to overcome every challenge. Even when you cannot see it, God is at work. His ways are higher than your ways, and his thoughts are higher than your thoughts. What you perceive as a setback may be a setup for a breakthrough. What you see as a closed door may be God's protection from something that is not his best for you. Trust that he is weaving all things together for your good, even when the pieces of the puzzle do not seem to fit. His perspective is eternal, and his plans are always for your benefit. There is strength in surrender. When you lay your struggles at the feet of Jesus, you are acknowledging that you cannot do it alone. Surrender is not a sign of weakness, but a declaration of trust in God's ability to handle what you cannot. As you release your burdens to him, you will find rest for your soul and freedom from the weight of worry and fear. He invites you to cast all your cares upon him, for he cares for you deeply and personally. God's love for you is unchanging and unconditional. It is not based on your performance or your circumstances, but on his character and his covenant with you. He loved you before you were born. He loves you in the midst of your struggles, and He will love you for all eternity. Nothing can separate you from His love, not hardship, not failure, not even your own doubts. Let His love be the foundation upon which you stand, the anchor that holds you firm in the storms of life. As you continue on this journey, remember that your story is not finished. The struggles you face today are not the end, but a chapter in a greater narrative. God is still writing, and the final outcome is one of victory, redemption, and joy. Trust Him with the pen of your life, and know that He is crafting a masterpiece. The best is yet to come, and what He has prepared for you is beyond anything you can imagine. Every step you take, every prayer you pray, and every act of faith brings you closer to the fulfillment of God's promises. Do not grow weary in the waiting, for in due season you will see the harvest of all that God has planted in your life. Hold on to hope, remain steadfast in faith, and let your heart be anchored in the truth of His word. He is with you, He is for you, and He will never fail you. As you stand at the crossroads of your struggles and your faith, remember this unshakable truth: God sees you, He hears you, and He is with you. Your battles are not fought in vain, and your prayers do not fall on deaf ears. The God who created the heavens and the earth is the same God who walks beside you, fights for you, and carries you when you feel too weak to continue. Trust in His perfect timing, rest in His unchanging love, and anchor yourself in His unfailing promises. Your struggles are the soil in which miracles grow, the fire through which your faith is refined, and the stage upon which God will display His glory. Do not give up. Do not lose heart. What you are enduring today will become the testimony of triumph you share tomorrow. Lift your eyes to the one who holds your life in His hands, and know that He is working all things together for your good. The night may feel long, but the dawn is coming. Stand firm, for the same God who began a good work in you will be faithful to complete it. Keep believing, keep praying, and keep trusting, for the God who sees your struggles and hears your prayers is the same God who will lead you into victory. Your best days are not behind you, they are ahead. Keep pressing forward with faith, for with God all things are possible,